Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're urgently unpacking the mechanical breakdown of a massive crypto heist. We are going to dissect exactly how a cryptographic hack drained millions, and most importantly, detail the exact steps you need to take right now to protect your assets. Let's dive right into the random number generation failure that completely compromised one of the industry's most trusted hardware wallets.
Okay, let's just pause and think about this number for a second. Nearly $89 million was just drained from what basically everyone considered the absolute gold standard of Bitcoin cold storage. And here's the truly terrifying part. This happened without anyone ever touching the victim's physical devices. We're talking 1,367 Bitcoin stolen entirely remotely. So how does an impenetrable fortress just lose $89 million? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental flaw in exactly how the device generated your private key.
And this wasn't a one-and-done smash and grab. The persistent automated nature of this threat is honestly staggering. Hackers are executing this massive heist in 3 distinct waves, using sweeper bots that are scanning the blockchain 24/7. Wave 1 was the big initial hit, literally taking over 1,000 Bitcoin in just 41 minutes. Waves 2 and 3 show the attackers expanding their search, covering clock drift edge cases and sweeping up whatever they can find, and they aren't stopping. As long as there's a single Satoshi sitting in a compromised address, these automated scripts will just keep hunting.
Now, you might be wondering why exactly 4,585 addresses have been hit so far. Well, the attacker is methodically targeting smaller and smaller balances. In that first wave, the average haul was about 1 full Bitcoin per victim. Now, as we get into the third wave, it's down to about 1/10 of a Bitcoin. They're batching victims together in this desperate race to drain every last compromised address, moving from simple single-key outputs to more complex ones to hide their tracks.
Part 1. Anatomy of the RNG flaw. Let's look at exactly how this generator failed.
So how exactly did an impenetrable fortress fail so spectacularly? The root of this disaster actually traces all the way back to March 2021. Developers were doing a totally routine code-based refactor, and during this upgrade they accidentally broke the hardware initialization for the random number generator. That means for years, any user trusting the default create new seed function was unknowingly generating a highly vulnerable private key.
It literally came down to a single fatal compiler flag. Notice that 0. It was supposed to be a 1. That single 0 silently cleared the configuration flag, meaning the true random number generator driver never actually initialized. And instead of throwing a massive error, the system just quietly accepted this failure and moved on.
To understand why that 0 was a death sentence for security, we've got to talk about entropy. In cryptography, entropy is true physical chaos and unpredictability. It's the absolute bedrock of your security. Without proper hardware entropy pulling physical chaos from the chip's actual noise, the system just silently dropped back to a painfully predictable software generator. It started using highly predictable inputs, like millisecond-level system uptimer timers, to create your secret keys.
The crucial point here is this massive contrast. The software-generated state space got squeezed down to a pathetic 4.2 billion combinations. Now, to a normal person, 4.2 billion sounds like a massive, unguessable number, right? But to a modern GPU rig or a cloud cracker farm, that entire state space is cracked in just 15 seconds of work. Hardware entropy, on the other hand, is virtually uncrackable.
Because the entropy was so insanely weak, the attackers didn't even need to guess. They simply mapped out the vulnerable timestamp windows and mathematically pre-computed every single 12 or 24-word combination that a broken Coldcard could possibly output. Basically, they built massive lookup tables of public addresses, pointed their bots at the Bitcoin UTXO set, and the absolute millisecond a target address showed a balance, the bot instantly generated the private key and swept the funds.
Part 2. Evacuating your Bitcoin safely. Here is your protocol for safe fund recovery.
Listen closely here, because if you generated your seed between March 2021 and July 2026, your funds are at critical risk. We need to go into survival mode. Just updating the firmware isn't going to cut it because your existing seed phrase is already mathematically predictable. First, you have to download and flash the safe firmware patch. Second, generate a totally new seed using physical dice. And third, sweep your funds immediately to the new wallet.
Let's zero in on step 2. Why physical dice? Relying on physical casino dice to generate your new wallet is the ultimate failsafe. By rolling a standard die at least 100 times and entering those results manually into the device, you completely bypass the system's software and hardware RNG. You are bringing true, unhackable physical chaos back into your security setup.
Now, as you evacuate, your operational security is absolutely paramount. You have to avoid phishing scams. Never ever type your seed phrase into a website to check if you're compromised. Only check your public keys using official scripts. And when you sweep your funds to your new Dice-generated wallet, please do not cheap out on gas fees. Check mempool.space and set your feet to 1.5x or 2x high priority. You need your transaction in the very next block so you don't get front-run by a hacker's bot.
Part 3. Master your security with EXMON Academy.
Look, surviving the complexities of self-custody requires ongoing education. You can't just set and forget your security. For this, I highly recommend EXMON Academy. It is an incredible, 100% free educational hub. They publish invaluable breakdowns on crypto, blockchain technology, advanced trading, and crucially, operational security. Educating yourself through resources like this is exactly how you stay ahead of the curve and avoid falling victim to massive exploits like the one we covered today.
Because at the end of the day, this whole exploit is a harsh, $89 million reminder of the brutal reality of self-custody. We always say, not your keys, not your coins, right? But we also have to remember, bad code means lost coins. You can never rely 100% on a single source of entropy, even from a top-tier, highly respected vendor. Trust, but verify with physical entropy.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to evaluate your own digital vaults and security setups. Is your single source of truth truly random, or is it just a predictable line of code? Secure your keys, use physical dice, evacuate compromised wallets immediately, and keep learning with us.